Hello again, and welcome to episode 7 of Safe Kids, Sane Parents, the Family Safety Podcast. My co-host, Richard, is gone today. He's out at a retreat. And joining me today instead is Justin Shore, an EMT with the San Francisco Airport. Is that a fire department, a public safety department? How's that work there, Justin?
The San Francisco Fire Department is the municipal fire and emergency medical services organization for the city and county of San Francisco, also covering the San Francisco International Airport.
Okay, excellent. And tell us a bit about your experience with fire and rescue and public safety. You've been at this career for quite a while.
Yeah, this August, actually next month, will mark my 20th year as a paid firefighter. I'm a second-generation firefighter. My father worked down where I grew up. I was an Explorer Scout the day before my 16th birthday. You can literally say that I've been doing this most of my life.
For the education of the folks out in the audience, Justin and I know each other from college. And even back then, you were a volunteer firefighter out in Albuquerque, New Mexico, back when neither of us were old enough to drink.
Yes, with the Bernalillo County Fire Department. That's right.
So you've been at this quite a while.
Yes.
Yeah. And one of the things that we found very valuable on the podcast is to talk to the professionals, because there's a lot of information out there that's spurious information about family safety, about keeping families safe, from people who are guessing or people who are mostly interested in promoting a product or promoting their own personal brand. A lot of people who haven't had hands-on experience. We like to get the perspective of the professionals who have to deal with the mess when a parent perhaps makes a mistake or acts on bad information. And with the 4th of July coming up, wanted to get somebody's experience and thoughts on fireworks safety. And I loved a quote you shared when I approached you on Facebook about how 50 other weeks of the year we call them by their proper name, explosives.
That's right.
So could you expand on that a bit?
Yeah, so the important thing to keep in mind is that fireworks are explosives. When they are transported via car and truck, thank you, my Australian friend, trying to close the window. Sorry about the noise. It's close to 10 p.m. where we are here on the West Coast Pacific. When fireworks are transported to the store to be displayed, they are marked as explosives. The truck is marked with an orange placard that indicates that it will not only catch fire, but will explode. When the packages are brought into the store, they are marked with the same orange label, warning explosives. They're brought out onto the floor of the shopping store, and the box is opened, and it no longer says explosives. It says fireworks, fun, light me off, and I go boom. Any other time, these are labeled as highly dangerous explosives. These things are designed to let forth with light and force and concussion to such an extent that it not only maim and injure, but kill. And that's why I don't allow my kids to do it. I don't do it. I leave the fireworks to the professionals, and that's the best way to do it.
Okay. So quick vocabulary question. When you're talking about fireworks, are you talking about the big air explosive fireworks that we see in a 4th of July show, or are you also talking about the smaller firecrackers, the Roman candles, or even the little round ball ones that are legal in most states?
I'm talking about everything that is labeled explosive by the Department of Transportation, which is everything from your small sparkler, which can burn at over 1,200 degrees, easily completely destroying hands and fingers. I've seen it. Up to the Roman candles, the poppers, the smokers, everything that zips around in the street in the middle of the night, starts grass fires, lights cars on fire. It's rare, but I've seen it, all the way up to the stuff that professionals do. The important thing for folks to remember is when you really boil it down, it is black powder. It is gunpowder. In smaller amounts, yes, but don't get comfortable. Just don't do it. Go find a nice fireworks show. I've got a friend in town from Australia who tomorrow will be celebrating his first ever 4th of July here with us. And we're not getting sparklers, we're not getting bottle rockets, we're not doing any of that. We are going to a professional fireworks show, and we're going to let them, the trained experts, deal with these explosives, because you really don't want my Australian friend dealing with them.
Okay.
Right? True.
So Lee Muscarella, who's a firefighter out in Arizona, who wasn't able to join us today because of some technical difficulties, he provided me with some statistics, and one of the ones that just leapt out at me was that nearly half of all fireworks-related injuries each 4th of July were from sparklers.
Yes,
sparklers are very much the kiddie pool of fireworks. It's what you hand your 3-year-olds so they can make patterns in the night. But apparently, they're immensely dangerous. What was it you just said? 1,200 degrees?
Yes, the tip is pretty much, if I remember correctly, burning magnesium, which is a flammable metal. And I may be incorrect. I would refer to the statistics Lee may have sent you, or any of your viewers for the specifics. But you would never give your 3-year-old, a 12-inch blade and let them run around the yard in dark. Why would you do that with a lit explosive? It really boggles the mind. Coming from a parent who's a paramedic and a firefighter, I don't give my kids explosives. I don't recommend their friends' parents do the same. It is neat to kind of shake them around and yay, it's the 4th of July, but I wouldn't give them a weapon to do that with. Why on earth would I give them an explosive?
No, that makes sense. So, fireworks laws in general, they're kind of on that list with speeding and smoking marijuana, where it's technically illegal, but not a lot of the public takes that law seriously. What do you have to say to folks who have a more libertine or expansive attitude about that?
It goes back to, I have to advise your viewers to follow whatever local laws and restrictions are in place. My Australian friend and my police officer friend today, we drove up to a brewery. I apologize, I'm imbibing during the show. It's kind of a personal policy.
No worries.
We drove through 3 or 4 different counties here in north central California, and we drove through 3 counties that strictly forbid fireworks, and another one where our friend was taking photographs of the street side fireworks stands that were offering, I think it was buy one, get 10,000 free or something ridiculous. But it never said explosives, come buy explosives, come be dangerous, or anything like that. It was fireworks. And I think for a long time, Americans, and I apologize, I keep referring to my Australian friend here, but Nick, what was it you said that Americans celebrate the 4th by what?
Celebrate the freedom of your country by blowing up a small part of it.
We celebrate the freedom of our country by blowing up a small part of it.
Okay.
And that doesn't make sense to me. When you go back to what are we doing? We're blowing things up. Why? Because America.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess. I don't know. I don't see the connection between small explosive devices and treason, for lack of a better term, which is exactly what those men did when they signed that document back on the 4th of July, 1776. But a lot of people do. If your community allows fireworks to be lit off, these explosive devices to be detonated, please do so with the utmost of caution. Wear gloves, wear face protection, do it in a non-wooded or grassed area. Pretty much do it in an empty parking lot, which doesn't sound exciting at all. So just do it.
So a bit of a tangent that got brought up there. Australia has a similar history in that they were at one point a British colony, and at another point told Britain to bucker off and go home. And they have an Independence Day as well. How is that celebrated there?
Beer and barbecue.
Beer and barbecue, which sounds familiar. Just 2 things we plan on doing tomorrow.
But isn't that every day in Australia?
Yep.
There you go. Okay. Excellent. So you had mentioned utmost caution.
Yeah.
Face protection, hand protection, paying attention to the ground to make sure that there's as little fire risk as possible.
Correct.
One of the points of utmost caution, regardless of what kind of safety you're dealing with, is having some kind of kit. You want to travel with a first aid kit. You want to have the, oh my God, I can't find my kit. Here are his vital statistics in a recent photo kit to give to the police. Given that it's probably optimistic to assume that everybody who watches this podcast is going to stop using fireworks immediately, is there a safety kit you would recommend having on hand? And what would be in that kit?
Yeah, there's two things that your viewers really need to think about, Jason. And number one is you do need to have a first aid kit, but number two, you need to have a plan for if things go completely wrong. In your first aid kit is going to be the basics: adhesive bandages, Band-Aid brand, usually good, variety of different sizes. Some alcohol prep pads just for cleaning cuts and bruises. Some betadine or iodine solution just to rinse things out. Bactine for those of us that are old enough to remember. The stuff that really stings. My wife off camera is laughing at that one. You want to keep some 2x2 or 4x4 gauze pads, either sterile or non-sterile, just for cleaning things out. Maybe a roll of tape, not absolutely necessary, but I'll tell you what, the number one best thing you can have in your first aid kit is a small bag of mixed vegetables in your freezer. That is the number one best ice pack on the planet, because not only can it soothe a twisted ankle or wrist, but you can eat it tomorrow.
Nice. So in terms of burns specifically, actually I want to go back, the vegetable pack, which is in my freezer as well. You recommend that above one of those chemical ice packs?
Absolutely, yes. Mainly because you can't eat the chemical ice pack. Now, I have chemical ice packs in my freezer, don't get me wrong, but I also have the frozen veggies. It's a good idea to keep at least 2 ice packs, because you never know when you're going to have 2 people hurt, 2 different appendages, an ankle, a knee, whatnot. But if you have at least 1 bag of frozen vegetables, know that you can break it up. And the reason I say frozen mixed vegetables is it's going to be able to conform to whatever injury you may have at whatever articulating joint.
That's why I prefer peas. I don't have a lot of experience with burns, but I have a lot of experience with sports injuries. And peas seem to compress and form the best.
That's true. And Jason, if I can real quick, remind your audience that the best thing for a burn is, number one, you need to remove the source of the burn. Whatever it is, get it away from the person. If it's the sparkler, get the sparkler out, get whatever chemicals may still be on the hand, off the hand, brush it off with your hand or with a towel or with your gloved hand, since you're wearing those cowskin gloves from the warehouse store, hopefully. You need to stop the burning process as soon as possible. Second, you need to use cool water, no ice, no cold water, no butter. I don't know what old wives' tale that came from. If you put the ice on, the skin is so sensitive that you may actually make the burn worse, because keep in mind, cold and hot have the same impact on skin. They can damage the different levels of the dermis, going down all the way to the basilar layer, which is where your 1st degree, 2nd degree, 3rd degree comes in. So what you want to do is just remove the burning material, cool water, and then cover it and try to keep it clean. If the skin is broken, you need to go see a doctor. 100% have to see a doctor. You are at a very, very high risk of infection if the skin is broken. If you have blisters, those blisters are going to get tight and they are going to hurt. I've had 2nd degree chemical burns. I was willing to jump off a cruise ship to get pain medication for those burns. Burns can seem very light at first, and an hour later, a completely different story. Take them very seriously. Cool water is the best thing for them.
So, question on that. You know, the cool water is what we all got in that first aid class we took during middle school or whatever. Does the recommendation change as you go up into 2nd degree burns and 3rd degree burns? Which seems like a reasonable and even likely risk when you're dealing with 1200 degree objects and explosives.
Yes, when we get up into a higher surface area burn, and the reason I bring that up is in the medical profession, we're concerned about the degree of the burn, the severity of the burn, but also how much of you is burned. If you have a third-degree burn on one finger, may not be as serious as a second-degree burn on your entire anterior chest. The reason for that is because your body is going to have to use more resources to try to deal with that second-degree burn along your chest. You're going to start needing fluid. Sorry, another car going by. A lot of burn victims become very dehydrated very quickly. So we're as paramedics, we're going to start IVs on these burn patients and give them copious amounts of fluid intravenously, because their body is going to use all that fluid to try to begin to cool and to repair. The problem is that the body will begin to overcool itself and you'll actually become cold. So what we try to do with burn victims is keep them clean, stop the burn, and keep them warm. The best thing your viewers can do is, if they encounter a burn, like I said, stop the burning process, cool water. If the skin is broken, seek medical help. If you look at the burn and the little hairs go up on the back of your neck that says something's wrong, call 911, 999, 000, whatever the emergency number is in your area, and just get a trained paramedic out to take a look at it. That's the best thing you can do.
And you would recommend having the paramedic come out as opposed to jumping in the car and driving to the hospital?
It really depends on your community. If you've got a decent urgent care or a general practitioner's office in your community that you know is open, that may be the best thing to do. Stop the burn, rinse it with cool water, wrap it up in a clean dressing, and get to the clinic. If you're not sure where it is, which you should know exactly where it is, or if they're open, which you should kind of know if they're open or not, definitely give a ring to the emergency number, stop the burn, clean it, keep it clean.
Yeah. Excellent. So I understand, I realize that you got short time today, and that's fine. But what's the big question that you wish people would ask you more often about fire safety and especially fireworks safety?
I wish folks would ask me why on earth we even think setting off explosives on the 4th of July is okay.
And what would your answer to that be?
Personally, I don't understand it. If it was the 9th of August and someone was running around with explosives, we'd probably hold them at gunpoint here in the U.S. and ask them why they're doing it. But for some reason, on the 4th of July, setting off explosives in the middle of the street is accepted, and it's an unnecessary risk for our community and our children, in my personal view. As an American, boom, kapow, can we make the explosion bigger, I think is what I'm supposed to say. I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, I just wish folks would be more careful. You wouldn't give your kid a loaded gun or a serrated knife to go running around in the yard, but apparently giving them an explosive is seen as perfectly normal. And unfortunately for a lot of those families, they've never seen the horrors of the child falling on the sparkler, or of the teenager that thinks the M80 is a dud and goes to get it. You know, unfortunately, I've seen a couple of those things, and nobody else should have to see it, especially a loved one. So don't do it. If you're going to do it, use extreme caution. That's my best advice.
That is, like so many other parenting things, there's this balance between being as safe as possible and having your kids have the experiences that you consider important or fun. And it sounds like, from your perspective, the risk really does not outweigh the reward.
Definitely not. I think that my children, the experience that I'm giving them going to professional fireworks shows, far exceeds standing in the backyard and swinging around a sparkler that I got for $3, you know, at the curbside stand, and then I wonder why it is that the hill a couple yards over is on fire the night of July 4th. They haven't expressed to me that they want to use them. If they ever do, I guess it's a conversation I'll just have to have that starts with no, because I'm your dad, and let's go let the experts handle it. You know, these guys have extensive training. They're monitored. They're regulated. Yeah, and the wife just added that fireworks and I'll call them recreational explosives are outlawed and banned in my county. So Not only will I not use them on principle, I will not use them because I am a law-abiding citizen. This one's.
And you did mention an interesting point there about alcohol and fireworks together. Those are both strong traditions on the 4th of July and also on New Year's Eve, which is our other big fireworks holiday in the United States. And that just seems like something we shouldn't have to repeat. But if you are going to use fireworks, make sure that the designated driver is the person responsible for them. That
Yes.
seems like something that shouldn't have to be said, but we're going to say.
Agreed.
Yeah. And so as to not to keep you from your family too long, last question for you. What's the really smart question I should ask?
I think you hit the big ones. I'll be honest with you. There's a whole lot of other things I'd like to come on another show and talk about. But when it comes down to really fireworks and fire safety, specifically for fireworks, remember they are explosives. They are regulated as explosives. They are transported as explosives. The only reason they are not labeled as explosives in the store is because people probably wouldn't buy them if they were called explosives. You've kind of been trained for that. But the other thing is, before something happens in your home, say you're the most responsible person, you don't use fireworks when you're not supposed to, but your neighbors do, and they launch a bottle rocket onto your wood shake roof, and your house catches on fire. You need to have a plan. What we recommend in the fire service is EDITH, exit drills in the home. You and your family need to know 2 ways out of your home from every room possible. You need to practice that drill. You need to have a meeting place outside the home where you can all get together and tell the first responding fire engine that, yes, we are all out of the home. The fire started at X location. And the great way to get the family involved in that is let the kids draw the house and let them draw the exit routes. And it really gets them involved in doing it. That is the best advice I can give, and check your smoke detectors.
Outstanding. Well, short podcast today because it is the holiday weekend out there. And real quick, you've got a blog and a couple podcasts you're involved in besides this one. So let's spend a minute doing the obligatory shilling.
Yes. Sorry, we're making cupcakes. I'm such an American. My daughter was born on the 4th of July. That's patriotism is what that is. No, my name is Justin Shore. I do write a blog called The Happy Medic at thehappymedic.com. You can find me on Twitter and Facebook. Just type in The Happy Medic anywhere on the interwebs machine, The Happy Medic, and you'll find me. I'm also co-host of a podcast called The Crossover. You can find us on iTunes, which is myself and my law enforcement brother, Motor Cop. Pretty much what we do, Jason, is we grab beer, we sit down, and we just talk about stuff that's important to the police and the firemen. And we have a lot of fun doing it.
Excellent. And, as somebody who's listened to that podcast more than once, I'm not a professional in that field at all, but A, it's entertaining in its own right, but B, you do get a sense of some of the dangers and some of the things you can do to prevent the dangers that are out there for your kids from the conversation you and Motor Cop have.
Yes, and real quick, I would just like to remind your listeners, we do have an explicit tag on iTunes. Definitely not a podcast for the kids. There is imbibing involved, and it is a cop and a fireman shooting stuff back and forth. But if any of your listeners want to go over, we are on iTunes. Just look for The Crossover Show.
Outstanding. Well, so thank you so much for taking the time today, Justin. Really appreciate it. And although most people who are watching this probably don't take the dangers inherent in fireworks seriously, I really do hope you listen, and that perspective that, yeah, these are explosives. So whether or not you decide to just have a total ban, which our expert has said is the best idea, treat it with the care that it deserves. I grew up in Oregon, and in Oregon you understand that the ocean is there and constantly trying to kill you, and to treat it with the respect and the fear that something that large trying to kill you deserves. And fireworks should get at least that much care and respect, if not complete avoidance. So Thank you so
Yeah.
much, Justin. And to everybody out there, you are stronger than you think you are.
Thank you, Jason. I appreciate